Guys, welcome back to HPL. We saw Powder take a quick 2-0 lead over Kranich. Kranich was back against the wall, but he's fully capable of winning the next 3 games in a row. And boy, have we seen some pretty interesting decks out of the two of them.
Yeah, Kranich has been kind of playing off-the-wall strategies, which isn't totally unexpected. But if you can head over to pvplive.net, check out his professional history. You can see that Hunter and Warrior are like two of the classes that he has historically done very well with, but he hasn't played much of those in HPL very much at all so far. And you kind of go back and look at those games. He plays Hunter and Warrior exceptionally well. I have to wonder why he's not choosing to go with those strategies right now, because they're two of the most powerful ones out there.
Yeah, I have to wonder as well. And you know what? I firmly believe you're going to see something like him out of that in this match. You're going to see something like Grim Patron Warrior, Control Warrior, or Mid-Range Hunter, which is like generally, I think, one of his favorite decks. He's played it for a long time and played it very, very well. So I have to believe he's going to go with a power strategy here. And he just needs to get on the board. He really, really needs to just get a win, and we're about to find out if he's going to get this win here in Game 3 between Powder and Kranich.
Yeah, match point for Powder now. Kranich back very much against the wall. Get out there on Twitter, use that hashtag HPL. Let everyone know if you think Powder's going to close this one out 3-0, or if Kranich can complete a reverse sweep. And look at this. I love it. Going with Hunter. This is exactly the kind of strategy I would love to see him use. We don't get a ton of information out of this opening hand. We know that he's obviously focused on being a little bit more aggressive here, but you know that hybrid Hunter deck has come to popularity recently. They're going to play stuff like Wolf Riders, they're going to play stuff like Leopard Gnomes, but then they'll also have Piloted Shredder. They'll also have Savannah Highmane. I wonder if he's playing a deck that's going to continue to have those big turns throughout the game, or if he's just looking to end this one as quickly as possible.
Yeah, we'll have to see which version of Hunter that Kranich is playing, but Powder has brought a Rogue deck to play, and his hand is great for the early game. He's got the coin, and he's got an SI7 agent, and you're going to see Kranich trade off pretty early here, which makes me believe that he's probably playing a longer game strategy. Otherwise, if he was just playing straight face Hunter, I think he would have actually just attacked his hero there.
Yeah, coin SI7 agent, you know, pretty good play versus Mad Scientist, but it does pull a secret out of your opponent's deck, so that's something they don't have to draw. They just get it for free, and if that's something like Freezing Trap, that could be you know, a big talking point for this. Would love to get a glimpse of that one. And see exactly what it is, but until then, we're not going to know. Now, a couple different options here. He can go with Leopard Gnome and Haunted Creeper, get 2 minions on the board, or he can go with that Animal Companion. And I have to think that whichever trap this is going to heavily influence which one of those decisions he makes.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if he develops his board of 2 minions here or tries to summon a random Huffer. It's going to be very interesting to see which one he tries to do there. I'm very happy to see Kranich play this deck. He plays it great. We saw him do it very well at BlizzCon with it, and his career statistics are actually just off the charts with Hunter. So I like that he's done this and picked this kind of strategy for this decisive match. Get yourself on the board, you know what, and then just forget about what's happened so far in this match. Let's go to Game 4. We can win that one, and you know what? We're all tied up at 0-0, and it's just, you know, anybody's game.
Yeah, so Powder gonna try to figure out exactly what this trap is. Couple different ways to deal with this Leok, so I would think that's a pretty big sigh of relief. At this point, he pretty much knows it's something like Explosive Trap. So his SI7 agent is checked, but he's gonna leverage his life total here a little bit. You know, 2 damage is not the biggest, considering how, you know, all things considered, Kranich just kind of opened up a little bit slower here than I think he would have liked to. That trade, you know, it kind of plays around stuff like Bandonize, maybe a backstab, keeps your opponent from really getting the ball rolling on everything. But if you're playing this aggressive of a strategy, where do you find the balance between killing your opponent's minions and pushing damage for the face?
I think it's pretty subjective. Like, if your hand is geared, like if you draw a lot of the top end of your deck, you want to make the game go out as long as possible, obviously, so you get better use out of your cards. But when you draw a very aggressive hand like Kranich has, I would have liked to see him go face with his minions here and make these Unleashed Hounds actually cards, because they're not going to be very good in this matchup against Rogue. And, you know, maybe if he doesn't trade early, they're going to become actually better.
Yeah, Hunter's Mark a pretty dead draw right now. And just like you said, 2 Unleash the Hounds in his hand. It's a card that isn't very good against Rogue to begin with, because they will make very good use out of 1 or 2 minions sitting on the board. You know, sans something like a big Violet Teacher swing, there's really not an effective opportunity to use Unleash the Hounds. So the fact that he opened up pretty well, but then he chose to trade and then drew these 3, you know, utility cards in a row, this is looking really bad for Kranich.
Yeah, you made a really good point there, one that I wanted to make. It's good against Violet Teacher, Unleash the Hounds is, but if Powder has a Violet Teacher out and has a bunch of tokens off of it, you're probably losing that game anyway, because he's probably played something like 4 or 5 spells, and you're just going to be too far behind. So Kranich's draw has not been that optimal this game. He's just, you know, not doing enough to put the Rogue in a bad position, and they're just Powder is getting to just stockpile resources here, and eventually one of these minions is going to stick. And as we've talked about a lot of times in Rogues in play, if they get a minion to stick for more than a turn, it generally means that you're going to lose.
Yeah, exactly why that class is so dangerous. and why it's so powerful. So Powder's still very aware of the fact that this is very likely explosive trap. Could still be misdirection, but I think that's pretty unlikely. So he's going to go ahead, use his dagger here, try to trigger this trap. He's going to find out whether, even if it's misdirection, that would trigger at this point. So there it is. Explosive trap's what it's going to be. That 2 damage, a little negligible at this point. I'm just going to go with Azure Drake here, it looks like. Finding even more options, and he's even got backstab to handle this Leper Gnome. All of Kranich's aggression has been completely stifled.
Yeah, Powder's draw this game was great. As we said, he had a lot of interaction early to deal with early minions. And you see that he's just actually snowballing here. And Kranich's draws have been, let's just be honest, they've been pretty lackluster here in the middle of the game. He's drawn a Hunter's Mark, multiple Unleash the Hounds, and a Quick Shot, all of which aren't doing enough.
Yeah, I mean, just going to have to use Unleash the Hounds to get anything rolling here. Again, leaving a minion on the board is so very dangerous, but he's not even going to try to focus on that. He just needs to get any amount of pressure rolling. If he finds himself picking up a couple of more key cards here, he could still win this game. Powder doesn't have any healing effects, and he is at 14. So he does have to either figure out a way to end this game early or find something to heal his life total and make sure he's safe from the burst that Kranich could potentially have.
Yeah, I think you're going to see Lotheb come out here because just playing an Unleash Hound for one Hound, you don't generally want to leave Beasts in play because of things like Kill Command. But if he plays a Lotheb, then if Kranich wants to play a Kill Command, he's going to have to pay full retail for it.
Yeah.
So.
The other option here too is getting his dagger back up because he's got Deadly Poison and Tinker Sharp Sword in his hand is something that I think can come into effect this turn. So maybe wanting to take that extra point. Again, he's at 14, so every point of life very much matters right now. But he's looking at only taking 2 turns here to get the job done. When you look at Deadly Poison, Tinker Sharp Sword, and Eviscerate in his hand with 8 damage already on the board.
Yeah, and that's what Powder's doing right now. He's doing a lot of counting to see how quickly he can kill Kranich over the next turn or 2. Yeah, and I think you're going to see him kill the Hound here, which I like this play. Let's get some minions in play. Let's stick them around and just have a huge turn next turn because Kranich's hand, he's had the same cards in his hand for a while. So if you're Powder, you're thinking worst case scenario, they're burn spells, and that was not a terrible draw from Kranich there.
Yeah, this could be a really key moment right here. And exactly how he's going to choose to go forward. I don't think at this point he can afford to kill any more minions. I think he's got to take some big risks and hope that he draws the damage to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, Kranich, as we said, he could still win this game. Powder is at 13. He has an Animal Companion in, he has a Quick Shot, he has an Unleash that's actually going to get more than one minion here. So it's his first opportunity to really play an Unleash for any kind of value.
Going to take his time and make sure he counts up everything, go through all of the 3 different circumstances for Animal Companion and how they affect this game. He cannot afford a single misstep from this point forward, and he's going to be staring down a ton of damage, so he has to make sure he can kill him as quickly as possible.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. If he wants to play Animal Companion and Unleash the Hounds the same turn, he can't weave in a hero power here, so he's going to be floating 1 mana, and that's really important here. Kranich needs to squeeze out every single point of damage he can from this turn on. Otherwise, he's going to be, he's going to be down 3-0 and lose this match. So he really, really needs to get through all the damage he can here. And
that's a scenario I think he thought about, is whether or not he rolled Misha. That's a very critical draw, I think, at this stage. And Lotheb is going to be all but a shutout at this point. Kranich not going to be able to play anything from his hand next. He's going to be able to, play 1 spell from his hand next turn, and that's not going to be enough. Powder's going to have more than enough damage to finish this game off next turn. I don't think there's a single card in Kranich's deck that can get him out of this scenario.
Yeah, I don't think there's any card that Kranich can draw here. And as you see, this Lotheb is just a huge back-breaking play here. Not usually the thing you say against Hunter, where Lotheb is a huge back-breaking play, but in this scenario, it's putting Kranich in a situation where he can't even play the spells that he wants to, and he's just going to fall way too far behind, and you're going to see Powder pick up a quick 3-0 victory, and he's going to sweep Kranich right out of this match.
Yeah, massive damage here. Very well-timed Lotheb. We see Worgen Infiltrator come from Kranich's deck, so that's the big indicator now that this was, in fact, a much more aggressive-oriented build than you would see from every single Hunter. Just a second Deadly Poison, just an embarrassment of riches here for Powder at this stage of the game, and a very decisive 3-0 victory, our second one of the night.
For the man that has it all, here's a little bit extra. Powder's going to get through a ton of extra damage this turn. He's going to beat Kranich down, and you know what? He takes a quick 3-0 victory. He's seen 2 quick sweeps here in day 2 of HPL. And, he's seen some pretty prepared players. These guys have done their homework, they know who they're playing against, and they've come prepared, and they've gotten very good matchups, and their homework is showing through in victories and 3-0 sweeps here.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that aggressive Hunter versus Rogue is a good matchup for the Rogue, but if they can get the draws that make sure they can handle everything in a certain order, that's really where they do win. And then you couple that with the fact that Kranich drew these utility cards in the mid-game instead of drawing minions that are going to create some action. That's really that was the finishing point for him as far as I was concerned. And then also with that, Powder's draw had a very strong mix of minions and spells, so he was able to make sure he was applying pressure at every step of the game.
Yeah, you got to feel a little bit for Kranich. His draw definitely didn't shape up well that game. He had a lot of cards that just didn't do anything through turns 3 through 5, and that's not what you want to be doing with Hunter. His mana utilization wasn't as high as it could be. He had to float a little extra mana here and there. Couldn't weave in his extra hero powers and pressure his opponent at the same time. And it gave him enough time to build up a nice board with Rogue and then finish the game off with some combo spells.
Yeah, we've seen how ranked play is kind of influencing the way that these guys can build their decks again. No restrictions in any way. They can queue up anything they want at any time. Kranich is kind of doing that, but he's not playing against random guys on ladder or in ranked play right now. He's playing against professional players who are capitalizing on the fact that he's being a little bit more innovative. So back to the drawing board for him. He's at 0-2 here now in HPL, and Powder picks up his first win. When we come back, we're going to have an interview with Powder, find out exactly his insight into the strategy and how he tackled this match when we come back. You're watching Hearthstone on PvP Live.